television highlights of the news of yesteryear. Alfred Emanuel Smith. In 1919, New York's Governor Al Smith returns to scene of his youth. For here, on cluttered and crowded sidewalks of New York, Al Smith spent his childhood, grew to manhood, headed toward fame. In 1920, as governor of his state, he greets another important Democrat of times, Ohio's Governor James Middleton Cox, party's presidential nominee. But nation goes Republican. New York dumps Democrats too. But in 1923, Smith says farewell to retiring Governor Nathan Miller of Syracuse and returns to Albany desk to serve another term in nation's second most important job. Elected again in 1924, Smith vacations from rigors of political whirl. He's far from want and obscurity of his early environs now. On Seagate, New Jersey beach, he rests for the work, campaigns, trials, and fame that lie ahead. Great champion of anything American or for good of his country, Smith is firm believer in Boy Scouts, and Scouts think he's big enough man to wear oversized brown derby. He's good enough governor of New York to be his party's candidate in 1926. On election day, his wife and friends are with him as New York sends him back to Albany for fourth term. As four-time governor of Empire State, he's national figure now. And in Democratic Convention of 1927, private citizen Franklin D. Roosevelt offers Al Smith as Democratic candidate for President of the United States. The man with backstreet boyhood and tenement youth is world famous, as before New York Assembly, he accepts his party's highest honor and launches battle for world's biggest job. There's cloudburst of confetti over New York City streets as Al Smith comes home from cross-country campaign, taking bold, brave fight for repeal of prohibition to nation's voters. Border to border, coast to coast. Repeal is his campaign call and battle cry. And on election day, he goes to polls to vote for himself and things in which he believes. But when ballots are counted, it's landslide win for Republican Herbert Hoover. Accustomed to victory, Smith is good loser, takes defeat as chance to retire from public life. In Albany, on his 55th birthday, the happy warrior appears with his family, vows he'll devote rest of his life to home and relatives. With his wife by his side, poor boy who was almost president cuts his birthday cake and prepares to become just ordinary citizen Smith after more than 30 years as public servant. In 1929, Cardinal Hayes awards Smith with Laetare Medal, its high honor for distinguished service as layman of Catholic Church. Out of politics by choice, Smith is not allowed complete retirement. At opening of Empire State Building, Smith, with wife and two grandchildren, is again in limelight. Grandchild gleefully cuts ribbon to lobby doors, and then Al Smith, president of Empire State Building, opens door to public. It's world's tallest structure, lofted nearly quarter mile into Manhattan skies. And in his office, high over the sidewalks of New York, Al Smith, honored and immortal American, thoughtfully and tenderly looks down on the cluttered and crowded tenement streets from which he rose.
John Garand, in civilian clothes, watches as Army Lieutenant Griswold demonstrates action and firing power of Springfield rifles such as doughboys used in World War I. Having shown what Springfield will do, Griswold loads rifle just developed by Garand. There's no slow bolt action here, as Garand rifle fires from tip of bullets and gas from exploded bullets discard shells. In 1936, United States Army accepts Garand rifle, uses it to help win Second World War.
Here's Samuel Untermyer, famous trial lawyer for both rich and poor. Born in Lynchburg, Virginia in 1858, Untermyer, during his career, handled both small claims and law cases of nations. Pleading one case, he won, and his client was awarded $8 million.
Aboard USS Olympia, here's Gladys Cooper, noted English actress. Making her first appearance as Bluebell in stage presentation of Bluebell of Fairyland, Gladys Cooper went through a series of starring roles on stage, then went to Hollywood and stardom on the screen.
Back after 4 months' inspection tour of conditions in Europe, here's Hiram Johnson, aboard famed steamship Leviathan. One-time governor of California, colorful member of United States Senate, Johnson was at one time third-party candidate for President of United States. November 17, 1927, and big wind has blown through nation's capital at 92 miles per hour, blasting out windows and toppling homes from their foundations. Walls wither away at force of violent winds. 50 persons are injured by storm's destructive power. This was tin roof of someone's home till big wind came along and swished it into so much shapeless metal. This garage has landed 100 feet from its foundation. And here's damage done at Anacostia Naval Air Station. No fatalities in stricken area, but there's over $500,000 damage.
In early 1930s, King George V and Queen Mary of England visit ancient Braemar in Scotland. With them is little Princess Elizabeth, who perhaps gets most enjoyment out of historic Scottish dance. Tossing the caber is highlight of games of athletic prowess, but there's many a slip between takeoff and toss. Only man whose 100-proof scotch can toss tree trunk like this. With games over, crowned heads of empire leave for home. King helps granddaughter Elizabeth and Duchess of York into carriage. Thousands cheer as royal family and little girl, someday to be proud mother and heir apparent, royally return to London.
Barling Bomber. It's 1923, and at Dayton, Ohio airport, crew of tri-winged Barling Bomber board giant airship in test flight of then biggest, heavier-than-aircraft ever built. There's great tension as house-high plane taxis down crewed runway in first attempt at flight. She not only gets off ground, but stays aloft for 28 minutes, hits 2,500-foot altitude, and attains then fabulous speed of 93 miles an hour. Landing speed is mile a minute, considered perilous rate of speed in 1923. Fantastic looking aircraft, Barling Bomber is forerunner of giant aircraft of today and tomorrow.
Fashions a la Fifth Avenue in the middle 1920s. Windows of New York City's famed Fifth Avenue shops show coats with large cuffs and shawl collars. Even coats of ermine have collars that are large. The more expensive outer wraps of those prosperous days, even those that are ermine, are trimmed with mink. That large cabinet in the background might be cabinet radio of the time. Daytime dresses show lack of hemline. I noticed the dress forms. They lack plenty, too. If these dress models had heads, no doubt they'd blush at what they're wearing. Cloche hats look like inverted buckets, don't they? Even latest headpieces of the times are cloche. These, they claim, are fresh from successive Paris openings. Upon opening heads that dream these creations, they found nothing there either. Daytime, nighttime, fur coats had shawl collars, and there was nothing but that same old cloche hat. Thank goodness times do change.
Belmont Best. It's 1928, and at opening day, Belmont Park, Long Island, here's cream of New York society, Mrs. Thomas Hitchcock. And here's Fifi Widener, arriving for colorful ceremonies with friends. Many famous Manhattan names are here. Chief among them, Mrs. Jimmy Walker and her mother. And with Joseph Widener, here's Prince Potenziani, governor of Rome. But as race starts, all eyes are on horses walking to the post and starting gate. And they're off. Down straightaway of Widener chute they come at breakneck speed. The crowd is tense, a tight pack of speeding horses till one pulls into lead by one full length. The crowd cheers as jockey Earl Sandy keeps his mount in lead. Horse is Osmond, and it looks like Osmond and Sandy all the way. It is Osmond, winner of Toboggan Handicap in 1928, and Earl Sandy, great jockey of all time.